All right, everyone. Welcome to week 4 of quarter 4, I think. 4 or 5. Anyways, the next assignment is the final. Alrighty, so we made it to the end of project 1. Alright, a couple things to remember in your final submissions. Can't stress this enough. Your final piece of paper should be nice and clean without any stray marks or smudges, right? Also, after I make some suggestions this week, if you didn't really take the time to do things correctly and how I've been suggesting them up until this point, you may choose to just simply redraw your illustration, okay? Because if you don't, and I can see visible pencil and erase marks underneath your color or on the sides because you didn't do the best job drawing it out, or maybe you see how other classmates are doing it and they're drawing it nice and big and you want to mimic that. It's always a good idea to kind of just scratch it and start over with the suggestions I made. It's only going to help your grade, obviously, but if you don't want to do it, that's another thing. I wouldn't think that it's that much work to kind of just redraw bubble letters, basically, but we'll see who does what. So I'm going to start with Pat and Emma N. Because they did not submit JPEGs. They submitted via Google Docs, which is all right. Okay, again, I'd rather the JPEG so I could bring it up in Photoshop and scribble on it. But, you haven't been submitting it like that, so we'll just keep going like this. Pat, really, I don't have anything to say. What some classmates are doing, and I'm very happy that they are doing it, and I'm surprised I didn't even think of it, is they're taking multiple pieces of paper and drawing them out. I know Aaron actually did a letter per piece of paper, so they're nice and big. You don't have to do that, but maybe you have the HUR and then get another piece of paper, tape it on the back so it looks like it's one giant piece of paper, and have the PHY. That might be better and yield to a better result in the end, Patrick. You are doing the gradient style, which I'm happy to hear about. You had asked me, does the color pattern have to be the same? It doesn't have to be the same, but I would suggest using the same 3 colors. So, it doesn't have to be all the purple up top and all the yellow on the bottom. You could rearrange how those 3 colors are working inside of the shapes, but I wouldn't use more than 3 colors because then it would kind of just get distracting. You'll start to look at one color over the other because different colors have different hierarchies. And for example, if you were to just throw a red on the H and everything else was blue and yellow, I'd keep looking at that H because that red is such a strong color. So just keep it to the 2 colors. I believe you had that yellow or blue fading to black and yellow fading to black. I can't necessarily remember, but yes, stick to the 3 colors with one of them being black for kind of that background inside shape. But it looks very good, Pat, as usual. Next up is Emma N. All right, Emma, you emailed me and we discussed it via email. I wish this was a JPEG so I could kind of doodle on it in Photoshop. However, what I was suggesting is on the inside of these shapes, and again, Emma kind of went the step further. She risked it for the biscuit, but she did it successfully. So, of course, Emma, you do not have to do it over. This is successful, so please do not think you have to do it over, and please do not think I am mad. What I was saying is maybe you could put some kind of follow the path of the letters, so maybe have a kind of groovy shape going out here like this, and then just outline that shape with a semi-thick outline of these inside colors, right? So you could have one over here kind of grooving out, outline it in the kind of purplish burgundy color, maybe put another one down here that kind of goes like, and then do it with this tannish color. That way, because these could be similar to the shapes on the outside, but because they are going to be filled in and have the inside colors, they're going to stand out and you'll be able to see the difference, okay? So it's totally fine if you just put, the shapes with a colored outline and leave the inside white. So leave the inside like the paper, okay? That would be my suggestion, Emma, and then, just adding something else to it. And, I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with for the next round. And if you want to lightly draw out those shapes and send it back to me and see what I think, you can do that too. But I have confidence that you can complete it without doing that. But by all means, I am here if you would like an extra critique. All right. So moving into Photoshop. Who are we going with first? Marissa. All right, Marissa, you did the double paper. I love it. I love it. I love it. Seems like a little fold mishap right here, but that's okay. So for this G, it looks a little bit more like a C. So I just, I'm gonna. I don't want to use that color. I want to use the red. Yeah. So I would just say, let me change my brush to a solid brush. B. I would curve that, and I'm actually doing something similar with my own personal work, where I have to be very careful with the letters because they could easily be read. Because remember, your last name, and this is what actually my professor told me, and it really helped me. Your last name isn't a word, so people aren't going to be like, oh wait, no, that has to be a G because it's this word. It's game. It's not came. Well, that's a bad example because those are both two words. Anyways, let's extend it over just a wee bit. Just a wee bit, so it's a little more clear that it's a G. And there's really not too much erasing in order to do that. Inside shapes are looking interesting. Maybe make this just a little bit bigger, that hole. A little bit bigger. E with the big, looks like this E has a big nose. I like it. Yeah. So, and if you wanted to think about doing like a shape like this around the outside and then just outlining it in color, so literally whatever color you put in here, you could choose to like do the outline, put another one over here if you wanted to, just to create a little more interest. You do not have to at all. It would be just as successful without that. And I'm looking forward to seeing if you do the solid or the gradient in your colors too. But we went over the colors last week, so all right. And I'm very happy to see that you were very inventive and taped some pieces of paper together. So well done there, Marissa. I'm sick of using this. Give me a red. All right, Aaron. Love to see this, Aaron. Love, love, love to see this. Such a great job. Did I flip the right? Yes, I did. So, piece of paper for each letter. I love it. It looks like these are well folded, though, so maybe you didn't tape them together. I don't know, but whatever you did here, Aaron, well done indeed. Tuor. I don't really have anything to say, Aaron. You're pretty much good to go. Took up all the space with the letter on the page, or folded. I'm not exactly sure how you created it, but well done, Aaron. Well done indeed. Yep, you're fully ready to move forward, Aaron. I really don't have any comments for you, and I love that the inside circle is organic to, create the reference to the overall organicness of everything. And this one right here, it's so much more interesting rather than you just putting that typical kind of opening in the letter. So well done on that, Aaron. And I'm sure this is going to turn out great. Don't worry about the folds. I'm not going to take points out for the folds. It's fine. So once those colors come in, they're really going to pop. And then you could hang it outside your house. Jason, so like I said, zoom in. Like I said, Jason, it might be a better idea for you to go corner to corner. All right, what some of your classmates are doing are taping the backs of pieces of paper together. Right, so say you put a piece of paper right here, tape them together, and then flip it over and draw on the front. That way you have more room, because where you're going to run into trouble is right here. You have no space really. Right here is really thin. This is super small. Alright, so you definitely need to make it bigger. So you can do the diagonal approach, or just take another piece of paper, Jason, tape it together, and then you have a longer piece of paper to work with. So I suggest redrawing this. I can't imagine it took you that long to do this, Jason. So, you know, maybe take some time to redraw these letters. And let's see what you got. Purple, yellow, right? Purple, yellow, purple, and yellow, purple, and yellow. Yeah, so purple and yellow is gonna work just fine. You know, I have no problems with that. But yeah, the overall letters should be bigger, all right? And that seems to be a problem that you've had in the past as well, so please don't make me have to take points off because it's so thin. Such a small letter, right? Draw them bigger. So get that other piece of paper or redraw it going on diagonal, all right? And try to center it. Right now, this looks very weird, it being all the way at the top of the paper and it on a slight slant, okay? For your final piece of paper, make sure it is level, right? If you're not going to do it diagonally, then don't have it going slightly down because it seems very random. All right? Have it in the middle of the piece of paper, level, you know. It also helps to maybe take the edge of this colored pencil pack, draw a light straight line going from top to bottom, and then you know every bottom of the letter of your letters should hit that line, and you know the end result is going to be level. Okay, that's going to be very important for your final piece. You know, those little points will add up, so make sure you take the time to correct this. And if you have any questions, Jason, just send them my way. I hope you're doing well. I'm sure you're in pain that there's no baseball to watch and or play, but you know, hopefully this summer you'll be able to get out and have a catcher, take some BP and stuff like that. But hope you're doing well, Jason. Dylan, all right, I love the big D. Remember, no corners, no corner project. So every time I see a sharp edge, I'm gonna dock you. So no corner project. The whole point is not to have things like that. So get rid of that. I think we could make this Y a little bit bigger and the A a little bit bigger. The N a little bit bigger. I think you have some room to work with. And again, you could form it into layers. So say if you had the A like this or something like that, then you could have the N come up like that. That looks more like an H. You'd want it to, you know, I can't see the paper, but you'd want it to start like here and go over. Right? And you could also take another piece of paper too. All that you would need is two pieces of paper. Tape them this way, tape them that way, and then you'll have more room to work with. But I would like to see all of the letters this size, if not all of them closer to this size. I'm totally fine with you having that D as the biggest letter, but you know, the bigger the better for this project for sure, because it's just gonna be easier for you to add color. And try to draw a little lightly. I feel like if you were to add color to this, Dylan, I will see the colored pencil underneath it, which is not what you want, okay? And for the Y, you could do something like, you could even like follow the path that you have created. Ooh, that's not a Y. Follow the path you've created with the other letters. Something like that. And you could even have this go under the other letter and really have them interacting with each other. So those are my suggestions, Dylan. Make sure there's no areas like this. You could potentially make some letters bigger as well. Alright, Raza! First thing I noticed right away is the Z is very top heavy. Okay. If you have noticed on previous student critique that I did in this one, if you rewind and see the past students, Malika, you'll notice that some people are taping pieces of paper together. That way they have a bigger piece of paper. I didn't think of that either, so, don't feel bad that you didn't think of that. But that could be something that you could think of. That way you could have the R and A on one piece of paper and then the Z and A on the other piece of paper. Because this being very top heavy looks weird. If it was the other way around, that's one thing. So if your Z was like this, where it was bottom heavy, that would make sense. But because it's top heavy, it feels like it's gonna fall over. I do like the interaction you have, the negative space here. That's very good. I mentioned that earlier. But, especially that it does get a little bit smaller here. You have less room to play with. So, want them bigger. Okay, so that's really my only critique there, Malika, is maybe you take another piece of paper and tape them together. You could also be kind of surgical about it and just kind of cut the piece of paper along this line. Take another piece of paper, tape this to the back so you don't really, so if you put another piece of paper underneath it, right? Imagine this line's underneath, and then you tape it over here and kind of leave this area open, because remember, you don't have to carry it around, you just got to take a picture of it, and then that way you don't have to redo all the letters. You can just do the Z and the A again. But the main thing is just fix it from being top heavy. Okay, so that's my only critique there, Malika. Looking forward to seeing the final. Ooh, Haley. Got a long last name. Long last name. Let me rotate this image. Alright, so same thing. If you this actually looks like it is a 11 by 17 piece of paper. It looks good as is. If I can't imagine you'd want to redo this because you have so many letters to redo. But it does look good like this. The letters are smaller, but you did a good job leaving enough thickness. I love this overlap right here. Little subtleties like that, Haley, are really going to help your project. So good. I also love how this letter is interacting with the H. It's like the H is kind of pushing it over, so it truly is like a blob, because when blobs merge together, they, kind of explode or expand. Does get a little tight right here, right? So be careful of that. Maybe you want to just slip another piece of paper underneath it, tape it to the back. That way you can complete this, because right now it's very, very tight. It's very, very tight, and that's easy, right? You can just slip another piece of paper just the same size so it just shows up, around here, and then just complete this shape, because that is, I can't help but to keep looking at that after I've seen it once. So if you were to fix that, it would greatly improve the project. Your inside shapes look good. So yes, that's my critique there, Haley. I hope you go tape a piece of paper under it and just finish that little K. Finish that K. So it's not ending abruptly. Other than that, well done. Caitlin! Counterclockwise. Mapping out the colors for me. I like to see that blue and purple, blue and pink, brown and pink. Yeah, I don't think you're doing brown. I like this right here. That part of the E. That's good. Be careful. Looks like you drew a little bit dark, so before you add color, you might want to go over it with an eraser just to lighten it up, so you do not see that pencil mark underneath the color. Because if I do see that pencil mark, you will get points taken off. So this is my warning. Just make sure that pencil mark is light enough so I will not see it underneath the color. And what if you wrap this S like that? And then you could have this T to kind of match that feeling. That T kind of come out like this. Small, and then I think that could be cool. And just gives it a little extra something. You know, that big T going up top and then the S coming up from the bottom. So that's my suggestion. So you got draw lighter. Possibly extend that S, because that S definitely looks a little weird when it's cut off. It's top heavy. You don't want letters to be top heavy. So that's my suggestion for fixing that. And then to match that S, do this with the T. And that, you know, wouldn't take long at all for you to adjust. But other than that, good. Just make sure those lines are nice and light when you go to add color so I do not see them underneath the color. Emma, love to see that you tape pieces of paper together. Love to see that, Emma. You're a genius. However, Emma, this is a little ugly, right? A piece, the paper showing. So maybe maybe don't have so much overlap. I'm trying to think. How could we do a better job taping this? I think it would be better, Emma, if you just put the pieces of paper, like the edges touching, taped them as best as you could. If there's a teeny tiny space showing, that's not the end of the world, but I think you could get it, you know, so there isn't. Then flip it over and then draw the letters out there. I notice you haven't even included the inside shapes, so I think redrawing it will take you at most 10 minutes, if that. But this kind of weird overlap is definitely not helping your grade. Go back earlier in the critique and see how your classmates tape things together, because they didn't have this big gap. Not saying you did it wrong or anything, but I think it just could be better. And I want you to get the highest grade possible. So if you get this is the edge of this paper, and get the edge of this paper right next to it as well, and then tape it up. Okay, you could tape it like that, or you could put tape going long ways like this. And then don't forget to draw those inside shapes, Emma. All right, make those inside shapes nice and organic. That one coming up here. Down there. Just playing around. All right, so just make sure to put those shapes in, and I suggest taping that closer together. And don't just untape it and tape it back together, because then you're going to have a really big gap between this M, and that's going to look even just as weird. So take a couple seconds. Use the back of this piece of paper, tape them together, and then redraw. That's my suggestion, Emma. But I'm very happy to see that you did use 2 pieces of paper, because that alone is a great idea, and is definitely going to help you in the long run, because those shapes are nice and big. Love to see it, Emma. Grace Lynch. All right, Grace. Bigger letters. If you go back earlier in the critique, you see that classmates are taking pieces of paper, so you could rip this piece of paper out and then tape it together. When you tape it together, put the edges of the piece of paper together, right? So you have one edge there, and then one edge touching it. Imagine this is touching it, okay? Tape them together, then flip them over, and draw the letters nice and big with the 2 pieces of paper to work with, okay? You don't even have a long last name, so, you know, you don't, you should be able to make those letters nice and big. This is nice and big, right? But you could even go bigger with those 2 pieces of paper. So you could have the L go like that, your Y, then your H, that would go on to the next piece of paper, right? Because that'll be taped right here. And then CH. As far as your letters go, they all look good. The H, I think the H would be better if it was more like this. So you have the Alright, so I'd bring this part up more. Okay, because right now that could be perceived as an L. Because I actually just designed something and I had my L's go like this. Alright, it kind of arced up like that. So just bring this part up so it looks more like an H rather than close to an L. But that little kind of curvy thing right here, that works just fine. And also, Grace, when you draw them bigger, you also have more room to add color, because like even this is a little too thin, right? You definitely want that to be, try to be as thick as this, right in here, right? So you could have that. Nice and big and nice and thick. And then the color on the inside will be much easier for you to add and for it to be more successful. So that is my take on that, Grace. Everybody, I will talk to you next week. If you have any questions, just shoot them my way. I'm going to post this video in this assignment. It's going to be right under all everything. So to find it, I will also make a note in here that it's below. But that is it, and I will talk to everybody next week. Enjoy the weekend.